Likewise, the extent of the corruption is so immense that if you think that by voting in Pakatan Harapan, we will be able to resolve the issue as an alternative, I think that I beg to differ, because if you look at what is happening within Selangor, the Menteri Besar from the time of Menteri Besar Khalid and now Azmin Ali, there are also issues of corruption too that has been brought up. And not forgetting that in Penang too, the Chief Minister is right now facing what called a court case, and which is up soon, and whereby I think they are going to have further court hearings with regards to his handling of, his house, as well as on the issues of the undersea tunnel that they are talking about building, whereby they have spent hundreds of millions of dollars on just paying consultancy fees, and then passing on this project to a company which I heard was like they have been incorporated for just the first 80 days, and that is without the expertise in actually running construction undersea tunnel sort of projects, So you can see from here that actually within Pakatan Harapan, now previously was Pakatan Rakyat, now it's called Pakatan Harapan. You see, under Pakatan Rakyat itself, you can see that was the voice of the people, where 52 to 54% of the voters have actually voted for Pakatan Rakyat. What happened then to Pakatan Rakyat is a similar case of whereby when they are elected in, they have sold the pictures to the public that actually they are so united, that they are out to stop corruption, they are out to stop whatever wrongdoings of Barisan Nasional, and they were asking the voters to give them the right to change, to be able. But right now, they are giving the reason that unless they become the federal government, they cannot do anything. But they are ruling the state. They were having 5 states to rule, which they lost 3, and now they have 2. With the 2, and these are the 2 most wealthiest and populous states, and yet within them itself, there are already scandals enveloping from there. So from there, you can see that actually it is not a solution, because why? The people will then be very frustrated when this time around with Pakatan Harapan right now, after PAS have left Pakatan Rakyat, that is because among themselves all along that these coalitions, so-called coalitions, which I call fake coalitions, will not work, because when they are having different ideologies, there's no way that the leaders will be able to agree on things which it is for the good of Malaysians. Because within themselves, they will take decisions which is favoring their on communal basis. So once it's on communal base and it is not looking towards a solution for Malaysians, there is no way that coalition will last. Likewise, when PAS left, some of the PAS members who stayed on became amanah. They became amanah whereby they do not have members. They are only just the elected leaders. Well, maybe they have built up some members lately, but it was all known to us that they do not have the base. Only PAS has the base, because this was reflected in Bersih 5, I think so. And where in the last Bersih gathering, as compared to the earlier ones and compared to the one just right after GE13, you can see that the people who turned up for the rally was short of the majority race, and that is the Malay. You can see from the Bersih movement in the last rally that they had, even though we say that it is Malaysian, but we must not deny that there was a lot of the majority race, and that was the Malay, which they were all attributing it to PAS supporters and PAS members. They did not turn up for the rally, and that is because they walked off from Pakatan Rakyat. So from there you can see that this arrangement of having amanah first and then later with PBBM, that is Parti Bumiputra Bersatu, from Dr. Mahathir's side, you can see from here that even when they got together until today, they are yet to resolve the candidates that they are going to have to be fielded in the next election. And already, if you look at the previous videos that has been played over the social media, there were a lot of medias of Anwar Ibrahim as well as Azmin Ali, where both of them have condemned, and they have condemned Dr. Mahathir to the maximum. And today, because Dr. Mahathir is over there to lead Pakatan Harapan, you see, everything that has been said is already being mellowed down. But if they are leaders, if they stand by what they are saying, could this be what the voters are going to believe, that all this have been resolved and all these are over, that we see in Dr. Mahathir as a new person that can actually lead the coalition? But in actual fact, when they said it in all their support for Dr. Mahathir, they are saying that he is needed because he is needed to remove Najib. And for him to remove Najib, they are trying to win over the supporters of UMNO. That is by splitting the UMNO supporters. And that's where they are able only to have Muhyiddin, his son, to be with him. But you can see from the last registration problem at ROS, they were talking about deregistering PPBM. It was said to be temporary. PPBM is already being established for the last 2 years. If the party on their own is serious in fulfilling the requirements of the Registrar of Societies, like I said, in complying to all the requirements. But this is again the issue of whether we can actually be able to establish the fact from the correspondences between ROS and PBBM. Because why? It is from the correspondences we will be able to establish who is at fault. Because when we talk about the registration of a party, if the party on its own is serious in getting its party registered, they would have done everything to follow the regulations and the rules, that is being set up under the Registrar of Societies. And if they have done that part, definitely they would have been properly registered. So you can see from this area that if ROS were to right now to be seen as favoring the the government in power, well, this is again a case where, well, they are a government body, so they will be seen to be like favoring the government, the present ruling government. But if you look at it, that if we can actually look at the correspondences, we will then be able to establish very clearly who is at fault actually. So this again, I rest the case with the voters to think positively that why all this is happening. And again, very clearly, you can see that PBBM and like Pakatan Harapan on its own, we are actually expecting a senior former Prime Minister to lead. I'm not saying that he does not have the energy, but I'm saying that we should have spared him because there are so many capable leaders that is available in the country. Only thing that we are not giving ourselves a chance, and we have not gone to visit the 30 million Malaysians to seek who are the good candidates around there. That is because of the present system that we have, and that is to say that we want to go through this political based system. And this system is only good if we really carry out democratic practices to its fullest. Coming back to Selangor, I did mention about equally about corruption. You see, it was being reported and it was being said that actually the investment arm of Selangor, whereby the Menteri Besar have actually more or less tried to put the reserve of the surplus money of Selangor to a $2 paid up company to do the investment. But this was actually being exposed to the public, and I do not know whether he proceeded with it, but I believe that with that news being out in the market, I think he may have put a stop to it because he knew then that this would become another explosive issue of corrupt practices too at the same time. But this is, as far as I know, that was being said. And there is another case, and they were talking about the Ejok case, whereby we're talking about land that was being allocated to the Felda settlers, and how I think in this case, I think Khairuddin a member of UMNO, which was very close to Mahathir, he was going about in getting the Felda settlers, grouping them together to sell off the entire parcel of land which was being allocated by the government to them to do Felda works, But then after that, they had the idea of grouping the Felda settlers and then sell off the land to another third-party company and for purposes of development. But in the process, because money did not exchange, there was a lot of these issues. Somehow the matter was being brokered for some time, and until Asmit was saying in the last State Assembly that he managed to solve it. But how they went about in settling this case, nothing was being properly being elaborated and explained to the public. And how much of it is being totally satisfying the Felda settlers and benefiting them, and for that matter, and benefiting Malaysians as a whole, because that land belongs to the country and it was being allocated to this group of settlers to actually own it for the purpose of doing a communal scheme of bringing themselves up. But instead, it was sold for a very hefty profit if the deal have gone through. So from there you can see that there are so many, even for that matter, back to the Barisan Nasional, we have the Felda case and how the land could have been transferred, and then within such a short time the land can be transferred back to Felda. So all this is all manipulation, and all this is high-handedness on the part of all these so-called responsible and respected politicians. So I'm asking Malaysians, fellow Malaysians, to actually think for yourself that this is very serious. This is something that you must recognize, that if you want to be the political master, you have to think very carefully in this coming general election that your vote matters. Agree, your vote matters. But to then pass on this vote of yours to what they call, so-called, the lesser of the two evils, I think this is only a temporary solution. A temporary solution where you will return back to the problem in a matter of a short time. And then the next 5 years is going to be the years where we will be having mounting debts. So coming back to the question of corruption, it is not possible to think in terms that the present government has amazed this amount of corruption, and by changing the government, we will be able to solve all this problem. Because in the eyes of Pakatan Harapan right now, in the eyes of Dr. Mahathir, and in the eyes of all the coalition leaders, why they are together right now, is that they want to remove one person, and that is Najib. And the worst part is, they included the wife, Rosmah. When the wife is just, by virtue of her position being the wife of the Prime Minister, even she is being implied to be involved with decision making of the Prime Minister. So you can imagine that if we want to run a country whereby family members, maybe next time the children and all that can all get involved and start making decisions on behalf of the elected leaders, this is where we are building dynasties. This is where we have leadership being passed on from the father to the son, and then later on to the grandson. And then where are we going to be able to have new ideas on how the country is run? So that's why under the coalition of the United Independents, we do not know in the next 5 years who are going to be the next leaders of the country, because the market is the people. We are talking about 30 million Malaysians right now, which the next 5 years may grow to 40 million. And assuming that there are more and more graduates, there are more and more successful people in Malaysia coming up in whichever industry they are in, I'm very certain that if they become successful, and there are people who will reach the age of wisdom at the age of maybe 40, 50, 60s, these are the people, if they know that we have a political system that is so predictable and certain, through the coalition of United Independents, saying that the future leaders will be from there, where they do not have to join any political party, then I'm very certain all these people who are then what you call experienced and with wisdom, they will come forward and offer their services. Because why? They know they do not have to go through the political elite group of people. They do not need to go and show favors. They do not need to go and gain favors, because why? They just have to say, I am capable, I'm loyal, I'm passionate, and I think that I am a person of wisdom that I think I can offer that service to the country. And if they do that, and they know that the system supports them, then they will come forward and offer their services. By then, the election commission role is so simple. They just have to market all these people to the public. And once they offer these people to the public, and if we take advantage of the 60 days that the Constitution is there to put forward to Malaysians that you have 60 days to conduct the election. And if we go by that, which that was the good intention of the people who wrote the Constitution, and that is to say that to give us ample time to go around the country to hold an election whereby the people will be out to celebrate, to look for the new leaders of the country. And we do not know from where they are going to be from, because why? There will be a lot of new prospective leaders coming forward to offer their services. And if we put them all together, we put them over the radio station, television, we put them over debates, we use all the public facilities that is being put up by the government, and we put all these places for them to reach out to the public, to then demonstrate, to then exhibit what they are good at and what they are fighting for the people. Then I think on that score alone, on that basis, these people are going to be able to then tell themselves that if they get elected, they will not be able to then see otherwise and think of other things that they can collude together to then corrupt themselves to then lead the country. Because why? Corruption will then stop. And only when corruption stops can the country progress. Just like I say, fake news ceases when real news flourishes.